Hello, this is Donna Lewis with the Clark County Park District, and today I'm presenting a program with the New Carlisle Library called Hovering Hummingbirds. This is one of our Crow series programs, Reading in Nature. So the first thing we do is read a book, and then we're going to talk about the animal and show you some kind of activity or craft that you can do at your house. So I'm going to read you this book called Hummingbirds, and if my little niece Emery is watching, I hope you enjoy this. So Hummingbird, Nicola Davies, illustrated by Jane Ray. Some great hummingbird pictures. The lighting is kind of bad in here. This is where the hummingbird would live up in the summer in North America, the eastern side of North America. Then they migrate down to South America for the winter and then back up again for spring. So every year they're migrating 2 times. Ruby-throated hummingbirds are tiny. They weigh less than a nickel, but every spring they fly up to 2,000 miles from Mexico and Central America to spend the summer in the United States and Canada, where they build their nests and have their babies. In the fall, they fly all the way back again to spend the winter where it's warm. So the ruby-throated hummingbird is what we're talking about. And now the book begins. Hummingbird. And there's a grandma with her granddaughter. Granny's in her garden with her granddaughter. Keep still, she whispers to the little girl, and they'll come. The child holds her breath. And they do come. So all these hummingbirds are coming to the flowers and these feeders that they're holding with sugar water in them. Their feathers flash in the slants of light. Their wings make the sound of their name, beating fast as thought. Zin, tzin. Tzin, or zun-zun, is the word for hummingbird in several languages used in South and Central America. They'll soon be gone, Granny says, flying north like you. The little girl looks sad, so Granny kisses her and says, maybe they'll visit you in New York City. So here we have a sailor, and he sees a little bird right there, a little hummingbird. Later on the plane, the girl wonders how something so small could fly so far. Down on the dark sea, a sailor has company at last. A hummingbird is sleeping in the rigging. At dawn, it wakes up and flies away, tiny and fearless, heading for the land. Hummingbirds lose half their body weight when they fly north over the Gulf of Mexico in one long trip, which is about 500 miles. Out on the veranda, everything is ready. The nectar feeders are filled and tiny flies buzz in the bug dispenser. Just after dawn, the hungry guests arrive for breakfast. The sisters laugh as they remember how their daddy used to say, hummingbirds need meat and potatoes, same as we do. Hummingbirds feed on nectar, a sugary liquid that comes from flowers, but they need protein from insects too. So bug dispensers give them a balanced diet because hummingbirds don't just eat sugar water or nectar. They eat lots of bugs. So now here they are flying overhead. So during migration, sometimes we already passed spring migration, but you will see them again flying south during fall migration, so you have to watch. Spring sweeps up country, flowers open, bee balm and scarlet sage, trumpet honeysuckle and cardinal flower. Insects zoom. The hummingbirds ride the green wave, zigzagging from one pool of buzz and blossom to the next. By April, the hummingbirds are as far as Washington, D.C., and by May, they arrive in southern Canada. A young man sets aside his school books when a hummingbird won't share flowers with a bumblebee. He laughs aloud and texts his mother a photo of the little bird, too angry for its size. So he got distracted from his phone. Nice thing to watch the bird. This family leaves their dinner on the table and goes outside to see hummingbirds sipping from the feeder they made out of a plastic cup and filled with sugar syrup. So it's just a simple feeder they made with a plastic red Solo cup. Hummingbirds know exactly where they're going, and when they get there, they settle in. The male chases other hummingbirds away so that his family doesn't have to share the nearby flowers. The female makes a nest with lichen, which is a moss, spider silk, and thistledown. It holds her 2 eggs tight, but stretches as the babies grow. So there she is with her nest. So there's the eggs, and grow and grow. The hummingbird nests are the size of half a walnut shell. So remember that when you find a walnut shell. The hummingbird nest is so tiny, it's hard to see in the tree. In late summer, a little girl is walking, head down in the park. There's something in the grass, white, too small to cap her littlest finger. There's only one thing it could be. Somewhere up among the trees and green, there's been a visitor from Granny's garden. So an egg has hatched, and the egg fell to the ground, and she found it. Days are getting shorter. Soon the bugs and nectar will be nipped by frost. Hummingbirds must fly south. The trip is long and hard for such small bodies, and many of them won't reach their destination. Roads, houses, and cities built by humans mean that there are now fewer places for hummingbirds to refuel on their trip. So that's why it's really important. Even people that live in apartments, if they have a deck, they could put out a hummingbird feeder or stick it to their window. Granny's in her garden with a package in her lap. Inside's a tiny eggshell wrapped in cotton balls, a letter, and a newspaper clipping. As she reads about how hummingbirds have nested for the first time in Central Park, there's a telltale sign around the flowers. Tzoon, and jewel feathers flash in the light. So she's reading a letter from her granddaughter about the hummingbird, and then here's one feeding on the flowers over here. Oh, and a kitty down there. Got to watch those kitties with those birds. And that is the end. There's some little more information on the back about the hummingbird, but we're going to talk about that really quickly now. So a hummingbird, not very big, 3 to 4 inches. So if you look at a tape measure, get your dad's tape measure, okay? Just 3 to 4 inches long, all right? So this guy's a little bigger than a real hummingbird would be. And males, you can tell the males from the females because the males have a red, like bright throat, all right? They're a little more brightly colored. And the women, the girls, I should say, are a little lighter in color. So the boy birds, male birds, are usually a little more vibrant. Now, these are the only birds that can fly up, sideways, down, forward, and backward. And they hover a lot when they're looking for food, or at the feeder they hover. Now I can't move his wings right. They don't flap their wings. They move their wings in a figure 8 when they feed. They can fly an average speed of 25 to 30 miles an hour. I have to cheat a little bit today. Dive up to 50 miles an hour. So if they're diving for food, now what could they be diving for? Bugs. So they don't just eat nectar, they do eat bugs. They can beat their wings up to 80 times a second, but again, they don't flap their wings, they move them in a figure 8. So think when you're making an 8 on your paper, they move their wings in a figure 8 and very quickly, so it's hard to catch it. Sometimes you'll see a moth that resembles a hummingbird. If you look close, you'll be like, oh, that's not a hummingbird. There are hummingbird moths that are very similar movement to them, but a little smaller. Their heart can beat up to 1,300 times a minute. So these are fast little guys. So because they have such a fast metabolism, they have to eat a lot of food. So they're constantly looking for food, especially mom when she has to have more energy to feed her babies. And it's only, I believe it's only mom that's feeding the babies. And they don't stay together for life. Some birds do stay together for life. They're bonded for life, like mourning doves and some hawks and things like that. But hummingbirds do not. And I don't think the male does much work. I think it's mostly the female. One of the coolest things about the hummingbird, though, is that it's migration. So it can migrate about 2,000 miles twice a year. Like it said in the book, they go from Central America up to North America, Eastern North America, from Eastern North America down to Central America again. So in the spring and the fall, they migrate because they have to be where they can, for some reason, they come here to breed and have their young. But then they go back down south to get food during the winter. So these birds live in different locations throughout the year. They're not just in Ohio all year long. Some have stayed here all winter and kind of hibernated. They go into kind of like a torpor where their body slows down. And it's like they're sleeping, but not really. So their body slows down a lot. Now they're also big pollinators. So like some of our other animals, like our bees, okay, our bees, like they like to pollinate. They're fun to watch. Now, we don't have bats this big, but fruit bats are pollinators. So the fruit bats are down like Texas and down Central South America. And our wasps and butterflies are pollinators. But so is the hummingbird. And they have this really long beak. He's kind of dark, it's hard to see. So they have this really long beak and a long tongue. And so if the flower is tubed, they can still get in there to get the nectar. And then bunches of pollen will stick on them. And as they go from flower to flower, they spread the pollen. So it's pretty cool. So hummingbirds are really cool creatures to watch. And if you put out a hummingbird feeder, you can get them pretty easily. So all you have to do is get something like a spice jar. Now, these are a good size. Your dad can just drill a few holes in there. So you could use one of those because the hummingbird food you won't have as much in there. You don't want to put out too much at one time. Or you could use one like this. Okay, this has a lid. Holes are already in it. And when you hang it, they just feed out of the holes. You just have to make sure they can reach. So what you do is you need string and scissors. So there's some like twine, okay? Scissors to cut it. And you're going to just cut maybe a foot string, tie it around your bottle, your spice bottle. I use spice bottles for a lot of things at the park and at home. And then you're just gonna have this to hang. You can use a hook and hang it from a little tiny branch in the tree. You want it shady so that the water doesn't get, so that the solution, the food doesn't get yucky too fast. You could stick it on your window, but it will kind of gum up your window with sticky stuff. So then mom's probably gonna make you clean it off. So it's kind of better to hang it just in a tree. You could even use a little bungee cord. You just have to have something to hang it from. So you could loop this bungee cord around a branch and hang it like that, okay? So what you need to make your food is just a cup of water, okay? Very easy, stuff that mom and dad have at the house, and a 1/3 cup of sugar. So you're gonna pour that in. Now, if you make just a little bit of food every 2 or 3 days, or every time you fill it, you don't have to boil your water. If you're going to make it, a bunch of it, and then keep it for a while, you want to boil it. So if you're gonna keep it in the fridge for like a week. But if you're just making what you need, okay, you're just gonna stir this until it dissolves. Then you're going to put your funnel above your feeder here, okay? And you're just going to pour it in until it's full. Okay, I'm not gonna do it here in my house because I'll drip sugar water everywhere. So you probably wanna do it in the kitchen or outside, okay? Check with mom on that. I don't wanna get in trouble. So then you put the lid on. Well, put the lid on, if I can get a lid on. Then carry it out with the lid on. It's nice because then it's not gonna leak. And then when you're ready to hang it, you're gonna hang it up, open the lid, and it should hang like this with the weight, and then the birds can get their beaks in. It's a good idea to change this at least like every couple days so it doesn't get too gross, okay? And you don't want to make the hummingbirds sick with gross food. So that's something you can do to attract hummingbirds to your house. It's easy, cheap, and so much fun to watch the hummingbirds, especially when they're chasing a bee or a wasp away. Now, if you want more hummingbirds around, you want to put several of these out. Instead of one big feeder, you could do a few of these, 3 or 4 of them, and put them in different locations, because hummingbirds are very territorial and they will fight other hummingbirds that try to eat from their feeder, okay? Once they establish it's theirs, they don't want other people to eat from it. Now, so that's something you can do to attract hummingbirds. You can also plant native plants, cardinal flower, some of your, there's some different butterfly type plants, coneflower, things like that. Some of the native thistles. Hummingbirds will come to some of the natural flowers too. And you can look those things up online, and they, some of the reputable sites like Cornell Lab of Ornithology, and there's some other hummingbird sites that'll give you some good ideas on what you can use, what you can plant. So you can have a little garden where butterflies, bees, and hummingbirds will come. Now, so that's a little bit about hummingbirds and a simple little thing you can make. Of course, our program is a lot shorter than it normally is when we do it at the library. But I hope you'll join us again next month when we do a program on the bald eagle. It'll be around the 4th of July, so it'll be real close to the 4th. Now, if you're in the summer reading program, I need to give you your secret word. Miss Maggie wants you to know this is the secret word of the day. Ruby is your word. So Ruby in all lowercase letters. So if you're in the summer reading program, this is the word that you need to know, all right? Miss Donna gave it to you. All right, so thank you, everybody. for watching today. I hope you enjoyed our program on hummingbirds and that you'll get outside and try to find hummingbirds yourself and maybe give them a hand and put some feeders out for them. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.